All right, so this is the calculating your grade additional assignments. All right, now hopefully you know that on my IT lab, um, it automatically grabs your grades for you, or it automatically calculates your grades for you. All right. Now, some people will like that, some people will hate that. What I actually really like about my IT lab, and I'm working on loading it right now, is that it automatically shows you your grade to date and your grade percent total. So you can actually see how well you're doing compared to like everything that's been due. But you also can see how well you've done throughout the entire semester, assuming you gave up at this exact moment in time. All right. And for those who didn't know, that's what those two different columns at the top are. You have a course percent to date, and then you have a course overall, I believe is what it was. I will look at that in a moment once I get into everything, because you have to click 20 times to open up my IT lab. I should have had this open, but I closed Chrome by accident. But anyway, so we're going to be calculating our final grades. So if I look at my grades in this class, which they're going to be pretty darn poor, you have final course percent. There we go. That is assuming you took a 0 on every assignment that hasn't been completed yet. So I would have a 0.9%. All right, that's very poor. My total percent to date, this is everything that is past due or completed. All right, so I have 1.5%. If we actually look at these, I haven't done a lot of assignments because, well, I don't need to repeat these every semester, so I don't have them. All right, now I do have some data involved. All right, some other data. But what we're going to do, all right, we are going to create a new Excel document. All right, so let's split screen this. Let's get rid of that so we can see things bigger. All right, so what we're going to have to do here, there's multiple parts. We got importing our grades. Now, where you get your grades from dependent vary. All right, for this class, for this assignment, we're obviously pulling them off my IT lab, which is really nice because they allow you to just come up here to the top, and we can click to the left of final, and we can drag all the way down to the bottom, and we can copy all the way to the bottom, and then I can right click and I can copy. All right, and I can pull that in, and we're just going to put that at cell 4 for now. That sounds good. And I'm going to paste. All right, we're going to paste special, and we're just going to paste code text. All right. So if I double click on this and bring it out to width, you can now see every assignment that we have due. All right. And if you look at this, anything that has a 0, those are all things that, for me, that are past due. Now, you hopefully will have grades for all of these, so you won't have zeros, but depending on who you are and when you're watching this, you might have some zeros. All right, and if you see these ones with double dashes, those are grades that are assignments that are not past due yet. So that's why they are little dash dash right there. All right. The next thing that we need, if we're going to calculate our grades for whatever class, and the nice thing about this is you can use this for any class. You just have to understand what assignments there are and how their percentages are calculated, and that makes your life a little bit easier. All right. We are going to do this assuming that we can figure out the individual percentage for every assignment. All right. Again, this is going to vary slightly depending on who your teacher is and all the fun details going along with that. So for me, or for us, it's pretty easy because we can figure out the percentage for each assignment type. So once I open up Word, there we go, or our PDF, that's right. All right, so down here, I have this, all right? And this tells you the final percentages of each category. Now, you do need to figure out what that means, all right? So this is kind of grouped into 2 different sections, all right? So you can see IC3 quizzes, there are 8 quizzes, and down here it says IC3 quiz is 9%. Now there is one more IC3 quiz, I believe, than what we're doing. And I think that's down here under, where is it, 17. There we go. Chapter 17 also has one. So that's why there's really 9 of those, not 8. So that's why my percentages are off a little bit. So anytime you see IC3 quiz, if there's 9 of them and it's versus 9%, that means each of these is worth 1% of your final grade. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make this our percent column. And I just go through down here and I'd go, okay, quiz 1, 1%, 1%, 1, quizzes are all with 1%. So go through and find all of the IC3 quizzes. And then again down here, very near the bottom, is this one. So that'd be also worth 1. And I can see that my IT sims are worth 16%. And again, there are 8 of those. So if I'd come through all of those, I'd know, oh, this one's 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. All right, so you can go through and you can fill all these things out. All right, so we're just trying to make a percent column here, so I know that this quiz, if I get 100 on it, gets me 1 point towards my final grade, which is very handy to know that that's how this is going to work. All right, you may take a quiz in this class and you go like, oh, it's just a quiz, it's worth, I don't know, 5% or whatever, but what is it really worth your final grade? Well, now we know it's worth 1% of your final grade. So you may be like, well, I skipped one. Oh no, I can only get a 99 in this class, and that's fine, right? You skipped one, you get up to a 99 now. Well, if you skip 10 now you only can get a 90%. So you do need to be kind of careful about not just skipping things because, they're only worth 1%. All right, so something to be aware of is really what it comes down to. All right, so we kind of got our assignment weights. All right, and we should give all these top headings. All right, so like this one would be the weight heading. All right, and does it have me give me these good ones? All right, so I would use, I said assignment, and then I had grade. All right, so we got to count that. Then we got to do our points towards final grades. All right, and I'm going to copy that instead of hand typing it because, well, I can. Probably would have been faster to hand type it, but no, I made my decision. All right, and then I have, in here, we have some formulas for you to actually use. All right. If you want to try and figure out the formulas yourself, great. By all means, please do it. All right, and these aren't the end-all, be-all formulas. These are formulas that work. All right, and we'll actually talk more about that one in a minute. All right, so here we've got the formula that we want to use. Now, this is assuming that we are starting in row 6 with this. All right, we are actually starting in row 6. Hey, I've worked out perfectly. All right, so yep, their exams are worth 10%. That's what's going on there. All right, so I guess give me a second and I can go ahead and grab, where is the Excel file I need? Did I close it? I must have closed it. That's annoying. Anyway, I can open that up. I was going to go ahead and copy my weights once this opens, but it doesn't look like it's going to open for me. Or I'm doing this in a new sheet, that's why. There we go. So I can come through here and I can go ahead and grab all of those. Let me just go back to the sheet that I'm working on, so we can just paste that down there, and now I have all the percentages there, which is nice. All right, so we're going to copy this out. And if you want to hand type it, if you want to use the little function bar, all right, so we're going to do an if statement. So we're going to say okay to that. And the logical test is, I'm going to actually use another formula here. I don't know if it's going to be happy about me doing that. So you know what? I'm going to, I think it'll be okay. Is number, and I'm not saying B6. Oh, B6. All right. The value, if true, is C6 times B6. All right. And the value, if false, is double quotes. All right. Now, I'll show you why that's kind of important in a minute. So we can go ahead and hit OK. And you can see, hey, I got a 0 on this one. All right. And again, let me go ahead to the other sheet. Let me get some actual data here. Let's go ahead and grab some data. So that way we're not, just doing this for the willy-nillys here. All right. So somewhere this doesn't work. Oh, this is supposed to say C6. I just did 6. There we go. And now you can see that it's 9.2. All right. So getting a 92 on my test at 10% gave me 9.2 points towards my final grade. And we can drag this down. All right. And we'll break that formula down in a second. So what we did here is we said if is number. So we're checking to see if B6, so this, is a number. All right. And if it is a number, then we multiply the weight times the grade that we got to get how many points towards our final grade. That's what the C6 times B6 is doing. Now, why do we have double quotations here? Because if we don't, and I just leave that off, in this case, it put a 0 in. I think if I delete this, it tells me false. All right. I don't want it to say false. I don't want it to be a 0. I want it to be nothing. So that is why I have double quotes there. So that way it's basically saying, hey, here's the text that I want you to put in that cell, which is nothing. All right. So that is why we've got that going on right there. All right. And you can see that we've got all our points being calculated here and what we've got for all of those. All right. And this is working because we've got, double minus signs in all these, and these are all not showing me anything, which is perfectly nice. So now if I sum this up, I sum this entire column up. Woo! Oh, I screwed that up somewhere. What do I got? D6 to D56. Yep, I want that to be D55. There we go. This is showing me that I've got a 29.08. All right, well, if I come back to my original one, if you look up down here, I've got a 29.1. All right, so if I actually make this a single decimal point instead of double decimal point, you can see, look, my numbers match, and your numbers should match. All right, so when you copy your data in, you have your numbers right here. So let's go ahead and quick copy those. 29.1, 46.2. 29.1, and this should be 46.2. All right, so that is my goal. So 29.1 matches 29.1. We're in good shape. We typed our formulas in, we got our weights correct, we got our data, our actual grades in correctly. We're doing good. All right. Now, calculating your percent to date is a bit more complicated. All right. Because this is just assuming, hey, you got zeros for all these assignments that weren't there. So we're just adding up points because we know how many points towards our final grade is. So the points toward final grade, that one's pretty easy. But the next one we're going to do is your course percent to date. All right. So this one is our completed assignments percentage. So we're going to go ahead and pop that in that row. All right. And again, I do have the formula for you, and we're going to break this down as we type it in. All right. So we're going to use the if command. All right. And this is for logical tests. All right. And we want to make sure three things are true. Now you could do an if and an if and an if and an if. You could do three ifs. All right. Or we can do an and statement. All right. So and is a logical test to make sure all these logics are true. If one of them is false, it won't be true. All right. So we're doing if logical, and we're saying B5 is greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to select this B5 column. Or in my case, sorry, B6. All right. Make sure you're on the right row. All right. And I'm saying is greater than or equal to 0. Oh, there we go. All right. So is 92 greater than or equal to 0? Yes, we're at 92. Perfect. All right. My next logical test is if B6 is less than or equal to 100. All right. Now, this one isn't necessarily necessary, and neither is the greater than 0, and that's because of the third option here. All right, is number. So we're using that wonderful is number again to make sure this is actually a number and not just those double dashes, because those double dashes will screw you up otherwise. All right. And if you didn't have the is number, but and you didn't have double dashes, it would actually count it as a 0. All right. So it's very important to write your formulas correctly. All right, so we've got that done. So we need to end our is number. We got one more parenthesis that gets us out of our if. So now we're going to say our logic value if true. And we're just going to say C6 because that's the row we're on. So we're going to do 10%. And then otherwise, again, we're going to use double quotes and we can end it. All right. So now it's saying, yes, we should calculate this. And we can make this percentages. All right. And if we drag this down, anywhere you see the double dashes, you should see no percentages show up. Anywhere you don't see the dashes, or 0, there's zeros or numbers, we have percentages. Now, the reason I said some of this was kind of unnecessary is technically, as long as your grades, as long as you do know that your grades are always going to be a number between 0 and 100 or whatever, and again, this is how this sheet specifically works. It's not anything beyond that. It's just how this sheet was designed. Technically, we probably don't need the B6 is greater than or equal to 0 and the B6 is less than or equal to 100 since we're using the is number here. So we're making sure there's actually a number in this spot. All right. That does kind of solve some of the problems, but having all three doesn't hurt us. It gives us a little bit of added protection there, so it's nice to have. All right. So now if we come down here, all right, now we need to divide this by the sum of this column. All right. And again, this is right here, tells you down here at the bottom. All right. So for me, I'm just going to say equals that one, which is me for D56. I'm a little bit off on my numbers compared to the assignment information. So this is assuming a few things. So you got to make sure you do get your columns and rows and things right. And I'm going to divide that by the sum of E55 to E6, and then parenthesis that, and then we should be good. Oh, why? Oh, because we're a percentage. Let's turn percentage off. I don't want percentage, I want general. There we go. We're going to get rid of some of our decimal. Let's get down to 1 decimal point. And we've got 46.2, and then up here we also have 46.2. All right. So all of our numbers and things are matching. Now, again, why do I have some things that are green and some that are yellow and things like that? Well, the green is just because I copied it from this other one that we were testing on. You have to do this? No, you can get rid of all your formatting. That is perfectly fine. Let's just maximize this up so I have a full toolbar at the top. I can clear my formats. And now I might say, you know what, this is a table, so we're going to go ahead and insert a table here. And my table does have headers. There we go. All right, so now you can see we got the rows and everything going nicely. You know, this would be your total, total percent there. We're just going to total on the bottom there. You know, maybe we want to bold this up a little bit just so we know that it's a little bit something different. I guess technically these are percentages, so if you wouldn't have percent on it, that's fine. We just need to modify this to divide by 100, so that way we get 2 percentages. All right, and this one's now a percent, and because this one was divided by 100, this one's now automatically divided by 100 too. And again, let's go ahead and give us a single decimal point. Boom, there we go. All right, so a nice way to kind of round this all out. And again, you can use this for your own, for whatever class it is that you want. Again, these should all be percentages. All right, boom, there we go. All right, so you can use this if you want for whatever class it is that you are in. If you ever want to calculate your grade and how it's going, you do just need to know how your grades are calculated. All right, so Excel is a super powerful tool as long as you kind of know what you're doing. It's when you don't know what you're doing that things become a bit more, problematic per se. So that's kind of a quick run through on the calculating your final grade.